Welcome back. In this video we focus on the 13 god and goddesses from the Aesir. They are the principal gods of Asgard. Odin. The Wanderer, the Wisdom Seeker, the All-Father. A god who gave everything, even himself, in the endless search for knowledge. Long before Odin sat upon his high throne, before ravens carried his thoughts across the sky, there was nothing but frost and flame. From that first clash of ice and fire, Ymir the giant was born, and from Ymir's death the world itself was shaped. It was Odin, with his brothers Vili and Ve, who struck Ymir down, and from that great corpse built the bones of the earth. His blood became the seas, his flesh the land, his skull the sky. In this act, Odin revealed his nature. He was not a keeper of what was, but a maker of what must be. Where there was chaos, he carved order. Where there was silence, he breathed life. It is told that on a lonely shore, the brothers found 2 logs of driftwood. They lifted them up, and Vili gave them thought, Ve gave them form, and Odin bent low and breathed into them the breath of spirit. Thus Ask and Embla, the first humans, awoke. And so Odin was not only a king of gods, but also the father of mankind. Yet Odin was never content. Creation alone did not satisfy him, nor did rulership. What he hungered for was knowledge. He knew that wisdom lay hidden in deep wells and carved into the fabric of fate, and he swore he would pay any price to claim it. At the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree, there lay Mimir's well, where the waters of memory and foresight flowed. Odin came to the well and asked for a drink, but the guardian demanded a sacrifice. Without hesitation, Odin plucked out his own eye and cast it into the depths. Blinded in one sense, he saw further in another, and his empty socket became a mark of the wisdom he had bought with pain. Still it was not enough. The secrets of the runes, mysteries of power, of language, of fate, were hidden from him. And so Odin took up his spear and hung himself upon Yggdrasil, the great ash that binds the 9 realms. For 9 nights he swayed, pierced, starving, near death, gazing downward into the abyss. At the edge of life he glimpsed the runes and seized them, wrenching their knowledge from the void. From death, he returned reborn, master of secrets. Odin's wisdom was never soft, never kind. He was a war god, a lord of the slain. On the battlefield he sent his Valkyries to choose who would die and who would live. The chosen were brought to Valhalla, his golden hall, where the warriors feasted and fought until the day they would be called upon to march at his side in the final battle. Odin did not gather them to save the world. He gathered them to face its ending. And still, he wandered. Cloaked in a wide-brimmed hat, one eye hidden, he walked among men in disguise. Sometimes he offered guidance, sometimes trickery, sometimes ruin. He was never wholly friend nor wholly foe. He was simply Odin, the seeker, the deceiver, the father of kings and the breaker of oaths. But for all his striving, Odin could not escape the web of fate. He knew what was to come. He had heard the prophecy, that one day Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, would break his chains and devour him. He knew that his sons would fall, that the sky would split, that the fire of Surtur would consume the world. He knew it, and still he prepared. He gathered warriors, whispered to seers, sought every scrap of knowledge he could find. Not to escape Ragnarok, but to meet it with open eyes. And so, when the end comes, Odin will ride forth on Sleipnir, his 8-legged steed, spear in hand, against the wolf. He will fall, as all things must. But his story will not end in silence. For Odin is more than a god of the past, he is a truth woven into the heart of myth itself, that wisdom must be paid for, that power is dangerous, that every seeker must sacrifice. The All-Father is a reminder that creation is born of struggle, that knowledge is wrestled from the dark, and that even in the face of doom, one must strive. For Odin is not just a god. He is the hunger that drives us forward. The shadow that whispers of sacrifice. The wanderer who never rests. Frigg. The queen of Asgard, wife of Odin, goddess of foresight, marriage, and motherhood. A weaver of destiny, a keeper of secrets. and the only one besides Odin himself who is said to know the threads of fate. the queen of the high hall. Frigg sat at Odin's side in Hlidskjalf, the high throne from which the 9 realms could be seen. She was not only queen by title, but queen by power, keeper of the household of Asgard, mother of the gods, and the protector of women and children. Where Odin sought wisdom in danger and sacrifice, Frigg's wisdom was quieter, woven into the fabric of life, the unseen threads that held families, oaths, and futures together. But Frigg was more than a wife and mother. She was a goddess of foresight, gifted with knowledge of what was to come. Unlike Odin, she did not seek the secrets of the runes, she simply knew. Yet her gift was heavy, for though she foresaw the future, she rarely revealed it. The tale of Baldur. The most famous story of Frigg is also her most tragic. Baldur, the shining god, beloved by all, began to dream of his own death. Frightened, Frigg swore to protect him. She traveled across the realms and took oaths from all things, fire and water, stone and metal, beasts of earth and sky, that none would harm her son. All swore to spare him. And so the gods made sport of Baldur's invulnerability, hurling stones, axes, and spears at him, which all fell harmlessly away. But Frigg had overlooked one thing, a slender sprig of mistletoe, which she deemed too small, too weak, to be a threat. Loki, ever watchful, ever cruel, learned of this. He shaped a dart of mistletoe and placed it in the hand of Baldur's blind brother, Hr. Unknowing, Hr threw it. And the dart pierced Baldur's heart. The hall fell silent. The Shining One lay dead. Frigg wept. She begged the gods to bring him back. Herma rode to hell to plead for Baldur's release, and the Queen of the Dead agreed, if all things in the world wept for him, Baldur could return. And all did weep, men and gods, beasts and stones, save one, a giantess in disguise, who refused. Some say it was Loki himself. And so Baldur remained in the underworld. Even the foresight of Frigg could not prevent fate. The keeper of secrets. Frigg was not only known for her sorrow, but for her cunning. She held secrets even from Odin, and was unafraid to test him. In one tale, she and Odin looked down from their throne and argued over the worth of 2 kings. Odin praised his champion, but Frigg favored the other, and through her subtle influence, ensured her choice prevailed. She was queen not only in name, but in wisdom. A match for the All-Father himself. The meaning of Frigg. Frigg is the goddess of what is closest to us, home, family, love, and the bonds that hold life together. She is a goddess of foresight, but also of silence, the knowledge that not every truth can be spoken, not every fate can be changed. Through her we see the power of care, the strength of protection, and the sorrow of loss. Her story reminds us that wisdom is not only found in sacrifice and wandering, but also in watchfulness and patience. That love can be fierce, but cannot always shield those we hold dearest. The Queen remembered. Though she does not ride to Ragnarok as Odin and Thor do, Frigg's presence endures. She is remembered in the weaving of fate, in the bonds of marriage, in the tears of mothers who mourn, and in the silence of those who know more than they can say. She is not only the Queen of Asgard. She is the quiet strength behind the throne. The foresight that shapes choices. The mother who weeps, and still endures. Thor. The Thunderer, son of Odin, protector of gods and men, wielder of Mjolnir, the mightiest hammer in all the 9 realms. A warrior of unmatched strength, a defender against the giants. And the storm that both terrifies and protects. The protector of Midgard. Thor was not only the god of thunder, he was the shield of humanity. While Odin sought wisdom and Loki played his tricks, Thor was the one who stood at the borders of the worlds, keeping the forces of chaos at bay. He rode in his chariot pulled by 2 mighty goats, Tangrasnir and Tangjastr, their hooves sparking lightning as they thundered across the sky. In his hand he carried Mjolnir, the hammer forged by dwarves, a weapon so powerful it could shatter mountains and return to him when thrown. With his iron gloves and belt of strength, he was unstoppable. The giants feared him. The people worshipped him. And the gods relied on him to hold the line. The tale of the hammer. The most famous story of Thor begins with a theft. One morning, he awoke to find Mjolnir missing. Without his hammer, Asgard was vulnerable. Loki, sly as ever, discovered the thief, a giant, who had buried the hammer deep beneath the earth. The giant would return it only on one condition, that the goddess Freya be given to him as his bride. Freya's fury shook the halls of Asgard, she would not be bartered. And so, a plan was made. Thor would go himself, disguised as Freya. He donned a bridal veil, jewels, and a dress, while Loki, ever the trickster, accompanied him as a handmaiden. At the wedding feast, the giant marveled at his bride's strength and appetite. She devoured an ox, ate salmon, and drank mead for 3. Loki explained it away as a hunger born of longing. When at last the hammer was brought forth to sanctify the marriage, Thor seized it with both hands, tore away his veil, and struck. The hall shook with thunder as the giants fell. Mjolnir was returned, and Asgard was safe once more. The Slayer of Giants. Thor's battles against the Jotnar are countless. He fought Hrungnir, the stone-skinned giant, splitting his skull with Mjolnir even as he himself was pinned beneath a massive leg. He waded through rivers of venom to strike down Jormungandr, the world serpent, during his fishing trip with the giant Hymir, though their final battle was yet to come. Wherever Thor went, storms followed, and wherever storms broke, giants fell. He was not subtle like Odin, nor cunning like Loki. His strength was his wisdom, his courage his counsel. He was the hammer against chaos. The doom of Ragnarok. Yet even Thor could not escape fate. At Ragnarok, the end of all things, he will face Jormungandr once more. He will strike the serpent down with Mjolnir, his greatest victory. But its venom will poison him. Thor will take 9 steps before he falls, lifeless, beside his foe. The protector of gods and men will perish, but his legacy will endure. The thunder remembered. Though his doom is written, Thor remains one of the most beloved of the Norse gods. He is remembered not only as a warrior, but as a guardian. His hammer's mark has been found on amulets, carved into stone, and worn around the necks of those who sought his strength. He is not only the god of thunder. He is the shield against chaos, the laughter in the hall after battle, the storm that roars, and then clears. The meaning of Thor. Thor is the god of strength, but also of protection. He is the defender of order, of hearth and home, of Midgard itself. His hammer is not only a weapon, but a blessing used to consecrate marriages, oaths, and births. To the people of the north, Thor was not distant. He was present in every storm, every crack of thunder, every flash of lightning that split the sky. He was both terrifying and comforting. A reminder that power can destroy, but also protect. Baldr. The radiant son of Odin and Frigg, beloved of gods and men, a bringer of light, joy, and beauty in the 9 realms. A god untouched by corruption, a figure of peace and the hope that even among warriors, gentleness has power. The beloved of Asgard. Baldr was unlike his kin. Where Thor was strength and Odin was wisdom, Baldr was light itself. He was fair, bright, and kind beyond measure, and wherever he walked, joy followed. The Æsir loved him. The Vanir honored him. Mortals worshipped him as the god of purity and renewal. Yet even such radiance cast a shadow. For Baldr began to dream of his own death. The dreams were dark and heavy, and fear gripped Asgard, for if Baldr could die, what hope could remain? The oaths of the world. Frigg, Baldr's mother, swore she would protect him. She journeyed across the realms, and from all things, stone and steel, fire and frost, beast and tree, she took an oath that none would harm her son. And so, the gods rejoiced. They tested Baldr's invulnerability, hurling spears and stones, striking with axes and blades. All fell harmlessly away. Laughter rang through the golden halls, and Baldr stood untouched, the shining center of their mirth. But one thing had been overlooked. A slender sprig of mistletoe, which Frigg deemed too small to matter, had been left out of her vows. And Loki, ever watchful, ever cruel, discovered this. The death of Baldur. At the next gathering, Loki fashioned a dart of mistletoe. He placed it in the hand of Hr, Baldur's blind brother, and guided his aim. The dart flew. It struck Baldur in the heart. The laughter died, and silence fell over Asgard. Baldur collapsed, lifeless on the ground. The most beloved of all the gods lay dead. Frigg wept. Odin grieved. The hall of the gods was broken by sorrow. Never before had the Aesir known such loss. The plea to Hel. Yet hope still lingered. Hermr, Odin's son, rode to the underworld to beg Hel, queen of the dead, for Baldur's release. She agreed, but on one condition: that all things in existence weep for Baldur, proving that he was truly loved by all. And all did weep, gods and mortals, beasts and stones, the very earth itself. But one being refused, a giantess in disguise, said by many to be Loki himself. Because of that refusal, Baldur remained in Hel's hall, beyond the reach of the living. The Shining One remembered. Though he fell too soon, Baldur's presence endures. He is remembered in the purity of light, in the warmth of love freely given, and in the mourning of those who lose what they hold dearest. He is not only the god of beauty and joy. He is the proof that even the most beloved cannot escape fate, the silence that follows laughter, the hope that even in the end, light will rise again. The meaning of Baldur. Baldur is the god of innocence, joy, and beauty. His death is the beginning of the end, a sign that even light cannot escape the grasp of fate. Through him we see that no oath, no love, no protection can stand forever against destiny. And yet, Baldur's memory is not only sorrow, it is hope. For prophecy says that after Ragnarok, Baldur will return from Hel, shining once more in the new world, to rule in peace. He is the promise that from death comes rebirth, and from sorrow, renewal. Hr. The blind son of Odin, brother of Baldur, fated to play a role in the greatest sorrow of the gods. A tragic figure, not of malice, but of fate, whose hand delivered the dart that ended Asgard's brightest light. The silent brother. Hr was unlike the other gods. He was blind, shrouded in darkness, while his twin brother Baldur shone with light. Where Baldur was beloved by all, Hr lived quietly in the shadows of Asgard. He was not counted among the great warriors, nor the tricksters, nor the kings. Yet even the quiet ones are bound by fate. And Hr's fate was to strike the blow that would change the destiny of the 9 realms. The trick of Loki. When Baldur was made invulnerable, the gods celebrated. They cast stones, spears, and blades at him, laughing as each weapon fell harmlessly away. Only mistletoe had been overlooked. And Loki, cunning and cruel, shaped it into a dart. He approached Hr, who stood apart, unable to join the game. "Why do you not honor your brother?" Loki asked. Hr answered, "Because I cannot see him, nor aim the throw." But Loki placed the dart in his hand, guiding his aim. Unknowing, innocent, Hr cast the weapon. It flew straight and true. The dart pierced Baldur's heart, and the Shining One fell. The hall of Asgard turned to grief, and the gods looked upon Hr with horror. The weight of guilt. Hr had no malice in his act. He was a pawn of Loki's schemes, blind in more than sight. Yet it was his hand that struck, and his name that was cursed. He became the unwilling slayer of his brother, the bringer of sorrow to Frigg and Odin, the shadow cast over Asgard's light. Fate had chosen him as the instrument of loss. And no innocence could erase that truth. The doom of vengeance. Vengeance was sworn. Odin fathered Vali, born for no purpose but to avenge Baldur. Within a single night of his birth, Vali grew to manhood. He sought out Hr, and struck him down, fulfilling the oath of retribution. Thus Hr, who had killed without intent, was slain without mercy. His fate was sealed not by choice, but by the threads the Norns had already woven. The blind god remembered. Hr is remembered not for his strength, nor his triumphs, but for his tragedy. He is the hand that fate guided, the shadow in the hall of the Shining One, the sorrow that followed joy. But he is also the proof that innocence does not shield us from destiny, and that even the darkest roles can be redeemed in the end. He is not only the blind God. He is the lesson that light and shadow walk together. That fate spares no one. And that even the fallen may rise again when the world is reborn. The meaning of HR. HR is not remembered as a villain, but as a tragedy. He teaches us that fate does not always strike where we expect. That even the innocent may play a role in sorrow, and even the blameless may bear the weight of guilt. His story is the shadow to Baldur's light, a reminder that darkness and light are bound together, each giving meaning to the other. And though he fell by his brother's death and his father's vengeance, prophecy says he will return. After Ragnarok, when the world is remade, HR and Baldur will rise together, no longer divided by fate, but ruling in peace. Tyr. The one-handed god, son of Odin in some tales, a champion of justice, courage, and law. A warrior without fear, a keeper of oaths. And the one who dared to place his hand in the jaws of the wolf. The god of courage. Tyr was no ordinary war god. Unlike others who glorified bloodshed, his realm was justice, honor, and the binding power of oaths. He presided over battles, yes, but also over treaties, law courts, and the trust that held society together. Where Thor defended Asgard with might, and Odin ruled with wisdom, Tyr embodied fairness and bravery. To the people, he was the god who upheld order, the one invoked when promises were made, and when warriors sought courage in the shield wall. The binding of Fenrir. The most famous story of Tyr is also the most tragic. The gods feared Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, child of Loki, whose strength grew each day. No chain could hold him, and he roamed freely, terrifying even the Aesir. The gods turned to the dwarves, who forged Gleipnir, a ribbon thin as silk but stronger than iron. Suspicious, Fenrir agreed to be bound only if one of the gods placed a hand in his mouth as a pledge of good faith. None dared, except Tyr. He stepped forward without hesitation, resting his hand between the wolf's fangs. The ribbon held. Fenrir thrashed, realizing he had been tricked. And in his fury, he bit down. Tyr's hand was severed, torn from him forever. He bore the wound in silence, the price of his courage. From then on, he was called the one-handed god. The keeper of honor. Though maimed, Tyr's spirit was unbroken. He continued to stand for law and order, for justice and fairness, even when others faltered. His sacrifice made him a symbol of trustworthiness and bravery. For who else but Tyr would risk himself for the good of all? He was proof that true courage is not without cost, and that honor sometimes demands the highest price. The doom of Ragnarok. At Ragnarok, Tyr's fate is sealed. He will face Garm, the Hound of Hell, in single combat. Their battle will be fierce and unmatched. Tyr will slay the beast, but in turn, he too will fall. His courage will carry him through to the end, and his death will be remembered as the final stand of justice in a dying world. The meaning of Tyr. Tyr is not only the god of war, but of trust, sacrifice, and truth. He teaches us that war must be waged with honor, that oaths are sacred, and that justice is worth any cost. His missing hand is not a mark of weakness, but of strength, the proof that he placed the needs of all above himself. Through him, we learn that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it head-on. The one-handed god remembered. Though he does not wield thunder like Thor, or weave fate like Odin, Tyr's presence endures. He is remembered in every oath kept, in every act of justice, in every moment when courage triumphs over fear. He is not only the god of war. He is the sacrifice that secures trust. The bravery that binds order. The one who gave his hands so that others might be safe. Heimdall. The shining god, guardian of Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, ever watchful, ever ready. A sentinel of unmatched sight and hearing, the first to see danger. and the last to sound the horn at the world's end. The guardian of Bifrost. Heimdall stood where no other dared. At the edge of Asgard, guarding the bridge that connected the realm of the gods to the worlds beyond. Day and night, he kept watch, needing less sleep than a bird, seeing farther than any eye, hearing even the grass grow and the wool on sheep's backs. He was the shield of Asgard, for no enemy could approach without his knowledge. In his hand he held Gjallarhorn, the resounding horn whose blast would shake the 9 realms. Silent it rested in peace, but one day it would sound, heralding Ragnarok. The shining god. Heimdall was a god of brightness, his skin said to shine with light itself. Born of 9 mothers, daughters of the sea, he was tied to mystery and the power of nature. He needed little food or rest, and his gifts made him the perfect guardian. But Heimdall was more than a watchman. He was also a keeper of wisdom, teaching mankind order in the ways of society. Some said he was Rig, the god who walked among mortals, fathering the 3 classes of men, thralls, farmers, and lords, thus shaping human life itself. The rivalry with Loki. If Heimdall was light and vigilance, Loki was his shadow. The two were destined to clash, enemies bound by fate. In the tales, Heimdall thwarted Loki's schemes more than once. When Loki stole the necklace Brisingamen from Freya, it was Heimdall who pursued him, and the two fought in the form of seals, until Heimdall won and restored what was stolen. Their rivalry would not end there. For at Ragnarok, Heimdall and Loki would meet once more, each fated to slay the other. The doom of Ragnarok. When the end of all things comes, Heimdall will sound Gjallarhorn. Its blast will awaken the gods, calling them to arms as the giants march across Bifrost. The bridge will shatter, and the final battle will begin. Amid the chaos, Heimdall will face Loki. Their struggle will be fierce, the watchman against the trickster, order against chaos. In the end, Heimdall will slay Loki, but he too will fall, struck down by his greatest foe. The guardian of Asgard will die as he lived, standing watch against the storm. The watchman remembered. Though he is fated to fall, Heimdall's presence endures. He is remembered in the sound of the horn, in the vigilance of the guard, in the steady gaze of those who watch over others. He is not only the guardian of Asgard. He is the light on the horizon. The warning in the silence. The promise that danger will not pass unseen. The meaning of Heimdall. Heimdall is the god of vigilance, order, and protection. He reminds us that watchfulness is a form of strength, and that even the greatest powers can fall if they are caught unawares. Through him, we see that duty is not always glory, but it is vital. That sometimes the greatest service is to stand, silent and steadfast, until the day you are called. He is the embodiment of readiness, the warning before disaster, the light that sees through the dark. Bragi. The Skald of Asgard, husband of Ion, the keeper of the apples of youth. A master of words, a weaver of song. And the one whose tongue held as much power as Thor's hammer or Odin's spear. The Skald of the gods. Bragi was famed for his eloquence, his wisdom, and his gift of poetry. Some said he was born with runes carved upon his tongue, a sign that words were his destiny. Where others wielded weapons, Bragi wielded language, and with it, he could inspire courage, soothe sorrow, or preserve glory. He was the keeper of skaldic tradition, the art of song and verse that gave immortality to deeds and names. Through Bragi's words, heroes lived forever. The Hall of Bragi. In Valhalla, where fallen warriors gathered, Bragi's role was vital. He welcomed the slain with speech, honoring their lives and celebrating their valor. For the Einherjar, his words were as vital as feasts or mead. They gave meaning to their sacrifice and hope for what was to come. Bragi's gift was not only in creation, but in remembrance. He ensured that no great deed was lost to silence. The husband of Ion. Bragi was wed to Ion, the goddess who kept the golden apples of immortality. Her gift preserved the gods from age, while his gift preserved them in song. Together, they embodied renewal. She in body, he in memory. Through Ion, the gods stayed young, and through Bragi, their stories endured for all time. The power of words. Bragi's power was subtle, but no less mighty. Where Odin sought knowledge and sacrifice, and Thor defended the worlds with his hammer, Bragi shaped destiny through song. Words, after all, could outlast stone and steel. A poem could travel farther than a spear, and live longer than a king's reign. In this, Bragi's gift was eternal. The Skald remembered. Though his role is quieter than Odin's or Thor's, Bragi's presence endures. He is remembered every time a story is told, every time a song is sung, every time words are used to capture something too great for silence. He is not only the god of poetry. He is the tongue of Asgard, the preserver of memory, the proof that words themselves are sacred. The meaning of Bragi. Bragi is the god of poetry, song, and memory. He shows us that words are not mere sounds, but forces that can inspire, heal, and preserve. Through him, we are reminded that battle is not only fought with weapons, but with the stories we tell about them. He is the voice that honors sacrifice, the song that makes joy immortal, the memory that keeps the past alive. Forseti. The son of Baldr and Nanna, grandson of Odin and Frigg. A god of peace, fairness, and judgment. And the one who settled disputes not with weapons, but with words. The keeper of law. Forseti was unlike the warlike gods who filled Asgard's halls. Where Thor thundered and Tyr sacrificed, Forseti ruled through calm and reason. He was the divine judge, called upon to resolve quarrels among gods and men alike. It was said that no dispute brought before him ever remained unsettled. For his wisdom and fairness brought peace where once there was strife. The Hall of Glitnir. Forseti's dwelling was Glitnir, the Shining One. Its pillars were of gold, its roof of silver, and its light could be seen from leagues away. Here he held his court, a hall of justice and reconciliation. All who entered found resolution, for Glitnir was a place where truth shone brightly, and falsehood could not endure. It was not a hall of feasting or war, but of judgment and peace. The god of mediation. Forseti's role was not to fight, but to prevent fighting. He listened with patience, spoke with wisdom, and guided others toward fairness. In him, law was not merely punishment, it was balance, ensuring harmony among gods, men, and realms. His power was subtle, but vital. For without justice, strength becomes tyranny, and even the mightiest kingdom crumbles. The silence of Ragnarok. Unlike Thor, Odin, or Heimdall, Forseti's fate at Ragnarok is never told. Perhaps he will fall with the others, when fire and chaos consume the world. Or perhaps he will endure, his wisdom belonging to the new world after the flames have passed. Some say his silence is fitting, for justice itself is eternal, even if the gods are not. The judge remembered. Though little survives of his tales, Forseti's presence endures. He is remembered in the halls of law, in the hands of judges, in the moments when peace is chosen over war. He is not only the son of Baldr. He is the light of Glitnir. The voice of reason in a world of chaos. The god who proves that true strength lies in justice. The meaning of Forseti. Forseti is the god of fairness, mediation, and peace. He teaches that wisdom is found not in violence, but in listening. That disputes are best ended not by force, but by understanding. Through him, we see that justice is not only law, but reconciliation. The power to heal rifts, preserve honor, and prevent needless bloodshed. Vidar. The son of Odin, known as the Silent One, a god of vengeance, strength, and endurance. A quiet figure, patient and watchful, but destined to play one of the most crucial roles at the end of days. The Silent Avenger. Vidar is unlike his brothers. Where Thor roars like the storm and Baldr shines like the sun, Vidar is quiet as the deep forest. He speaks little, but his silence is not weakness. It is patience, the calm before the strike. His strength is second only to Thor's, and it is said he is nearly as unshakable as the earth itself. The gods knew him as a figure of reserve, but also of certainty, for Vidar's role was bound in prophecy. The Shoe of Strength. Vidar's greatest weapon was not a sword or a hammer, but a shoe. Forged from all the scraps of leather ever cut away by shoemakers, it was unlike any other. Day by day, bit by bit, the shoe grew stronger, until it became indestructible. This strange gift would prove essential, for it was not meant for walking, but for vengeance. The vengeance of a son for his father. The Doom of Ragnarok. At Ragnarok, Odin will march to face Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, child of Loki. The All-Father will fall, devoured by the beast. But vengeance will not be denied. Vidar will come forward. With one hand he will seize Fenrir's jaw, and with his mighty shoe he will pin the wolf's lower jaw to the ground. Then, with all his strength, he will tear the wolf apart, rending it in two. The silence of Vidar will break in that terrible act, and his vengeance will avenge the king of the gods. The god who endures. Unlike many of the Aesir, Vidar's fate does not end at Ragnarok. When the fires die down and the world is reborn, he will survive. Alongside Vali, Baldur, and Hr, he will walk the new earth. In this way, Vidar represents not only vengeance, but endurance. He is proof that even after loss, strength can carry forward. The Silent One remembered. Though he is quiet in the myths, Vidar's presence endures. He is remembered in patience before action, in the quiet strength that needs no boasting, and in the endurance to outlast even the end of the world. He is not only the avenger of Odin. He is the silence that conceals power. The endurance that outlives fire and chaos. The god who waits until his time has come. The meaning of Vidar. Vidar is the god of silence, patience, and vengeance. He teaches that not all strength is loud, and not all power must be seen. Some victories are won by waiting, by enduring, until the moment comes to act. Through him, we see that vengeance, though grim, can also be justice, and that from silence, decisive strength may emerge. Vali. The son of Odin, born of the giantess Rindr. A god of vengeance and survival. And the one whose life began with a purpose already written. To avenge the death of Baldur. The child of destiny. Vali was not born as other gods were. When Baldur fell to Hr's hand, Odin sought justice. From prophecy he learned that only a son born of Rindr would avenge the Shining One. And so, by force or fate, Rindr bore him a child. Vali grew with unnatural speed. Within a single day he became fully grown, armed, and strong, ready to fulfill his purpose. He was a god created for vengeance, bound to destiny from his very first breath. The slayer of Hr. With his strength and his fate driving him, Vali sought out Hr. Though Hr was innocent, a pawn of Loki's trickery, it was his hand that had loosed the fatal dart. Vali struck him down, fulfilling the prophecy. Baldur's death was avenged, though the sorrow of the gods remained. The act branded Vali as a god of vengeance, one who carried out the harsh but unyielding justice of fate. The survivor of Ragnarok. Unlike Odin, Thor, or Heimdall, Vali's doom was not written in fire and death. When the world burns at Ragnarok, he will endure. After the battle, when the gods have fallen and the realms lie in ruin, Vali will walk upon the new earth. He will live alongside his brothers Baldur, Hr, and Vidar, to rebuild what was lost. Vali's survival is his second role, not only avenger of the old world, but a survivor into the new. The Avenger remembered. Though his role is small in the surviving myths, Vali's presence endures. He is remembered as the swift hand of justice, the one who avenged Baldur, and the survivor who will see the dawn after the world's end. He is not only the avenger of fate. He is the proof that from vengeance can come survival. That from endings can come beginnings. And that even a god born in sorrow may endure into hope. The meaning of Vali. Vali is the god of vengeance and renewal. His story teaches that justice can be harsh, even cruel, yet it also clears the way for healing. He reminds us that vengeance is not always born of hate, but sometimes of necessity. A force that closes one chapter so that another can begin. Through him, we see that even those bound to dark fates can endure to brighter times. Ullr, the son of Sif, stepson of Thor. A god of the hunt, of archery, and of winter. He is the master of the bow and the shield. The one who glides silently across the snow. And a figure of skill, survival, and hidden power. The hunter and skier. Ullr was unlike many of the Aesir. He was not famed for thunder like Thor, nor for cunning like Loki, but for skill. He was the greatest of archers, able to strike true from any distance. He was also a master of skiing in snowshoes, traveling swiftly across winter's white wilderness where no horse could follow. In the long dark of northern winters, Ullr was the one people called upon for safe hunts, for survival, and for the sharpness of aim. The shield god. Ullr's mastery was not only in the hunt but also in battle. It is said he could use a shield as a weapon of war and as a tool of travel, sliding across the frozen land with deadly grace. In him, skill met adaptability. He was a god who thrived where others faltered. This made him a symbol of survival, a figure invoked in duels and oaths, where precision and honor mattered most. The hidden ruler. Though Ullr is rarely mentioned in surviving myths, there are hints of a greater role. Some tales suggest that when Odin was absent from Asgard, Ullr ruled in his place. If so, then beneath his image as a solitary hunter was also the bearing of a leader. A god who could hold the throne when the Allfather was away. This mystery gives Ullr a shadow of authority, as if the silent hunter was also capable of guiding gods and men alike. The hunter remembered. Though few stories of Ullr remain, his memory lingers. His name is found in place names across Scandinavia, a sign of his once great worship. He is remembered in the bow's twang, in the silent tread across snow, and in the sharp breath of winter air. He is not only the god of the hunt. He is the master of survival. The silent archer in the woods. And the one who thrives in the frost where others fail. The meaning of Ullr. Ullr is the god of skill, precision, and endurance. He represents the strength not of raw power, but of mastery. The steady hand, the focused eye, the patience to wait for the right moment. He is also a god of winter, teaching that even in the harshest times, survival belongs to those who adapt. Through him we see that victory is not always loud or violent. Sometimes it is quiet, careful, and exact. Vlr. A god shrouded in enigma, often linked to fire, vitality, and the spark of life. He stands beside Odin and Honor at the very beginning, when the first humans were given soul and sense. From Odin came breath, from Honor came mind, and from Vlr came warmth, color, and life's pulse. He is the flame that dances within flesh, the force that gives motion to matter, and the whisper of creation itself. The giver of warmth and form. In the primeval world, when the realms were newly formed, the first humans, Ask and Embla, were but lifeless shapes of wood upon the sand. Then came the three gods. Odin gave them spirit. Honor gave them thought. But it was Vlr who gave them blood, warmth, and beauty. The redness of life, the color that separates the living from the dead. Through him, the stillness of matter caught fire. Through him, creation began to move. He is the power that kindles, the divine flame that does not destroy but awakens. Some call him the spark of being, others the guardian of vitality. For without his touch, even the breath of Odin would have been hollow. Vlr's gift was not of intellect or power, but of essence, the living fire that endures through ages. The fire god, or the fertile flame. Many scholars have wondered who Vlr truly was. Was he a god of fire? Of fertility? Of sacred energy that bridges both? Some link him to Loki, the trickster, seen in both the same flame, creative, dangerous, and transformative. But others hold that Lur was his own being. A god of renewal, of the creative force that brings fertility to earth and vigor to blood. In this way, Lur is the flame beneath life's surface. The heat of the forge, the beating of the heart, the warmth of the womb. He is not merely fire that burns, but fire that gives form, fire that makes creation fertile and beautiful. He is the unseen spark behind the harvest, the pulse that quickens the world each spring, and the warmth that returns after the long frost of winter. The forgotten companion. Though his name appears only briefly in the surviving myths, Lur's role may once have been far greater. To stand beside Odin in the act of creation is no small thing. It marks him not as a minor god, but as one of the founders of humanity. Yet, in time, his name faded. Perhaps his cult was absorbed into others, perhaps his nature was too sacred, too secret, to be spoken of often. But traces of him linger in the poetry and songs of old. A whisper of flame, a breath of warmth, a flash of red in the dawn sky. Lur is the hidden life in all things. Present in every heartbeat, every fire, every act of love and renewal. Lur's legacy. Even now, though little is known of him, Lur's gifts are all around us. The heat that stirs the seed to sprout. The flush that rises in passion or courage. The fire that drives creation and art, these are the echoes of his touch. He reminds us that life itself is sacred flame. That creation is not only born of order and reason, but also of warmth, color, and desire. The forces that make existence worth living. Lur's name may not be called in prayers today, but his spirit lives on in every hearth fire, every sunrise, every living breath. He is the god of vitality, of creative heat, and of the connection between body and spirit. The meaning of Lur. To understand Lur is to understand the secret of life's fire. He teaches that creation is not cold design, but living warmth. That to exist is to burn, to feel, to love, to create, to endure. He is the spark of passion in art and love, the fire that forges courage, and the warmth that binds all beings together in the web of life. Where Odin breathes spirit and Honor gives thought, Lur gives us the fire to live, to act, to create, to feel joy in the world.